You're halfway through your favorite pizza, the kind that makes you forget to talk for a moment. You ordered it with anchovies on purpose, not as a dare, not as a joke. Because you like what happens when the heat hits that salty little fish and it melts into the cheese. One bite turns into three, and suddenly you're reaching for the next slice like your hand is on autopilot. Then the person beside you wrinkles their nose. "That's disgusting," they say. "It smells awful." So the question lands right on the table between you. What is an anchovy? Why does it smell so strong? And why does it show up everywhere? And here's the funny part. Your friend may have eaten anchovies plenty of times, just not in a way they recognized. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. You don't hate the fish, you hate the version. Anchovies have two lives. There's the fish, as it comes from the sea soft, silver, and mild. And there's the fish, after humans get involved, salted, pressed, aged, and transformed into something intense enough to scare people off at a distance. Most "I hate anchovies" stories are really "I hate cured anchovies" stories. Because for most of the world, anchovies aren't encountered fresh. They're encountered in tins, jars, and on toppings lists, already wearing their strongest personality. That's why the argument at the pizza table is never just about taste, it's about identity. Your friend thinks anchovies are naturally loud. You're tasting something else, a small ingredient that has been engineered by time. And once you see that, the next question isn't "what are they?" It's "what happened to them?" A small fish that spoils fast. Anchovies are small, schooling fish, found across many temperate and tropical seas. There are many species in the anchovy family, but only a handful end up on human plates again and again, especially around the Mediterranean and across the Pacific coasts of South America and Southeast Asia. But the detail that matters most isn't a Latin name, it's how fragile they are. Anchovies are built for movement and numbers, not for waiting around. They spoil quickly. Which means, for most of history, you either ate them near the water or you figured out a way to hold them still. That pressure catch something that won't keep created a technique that's older than refrigerators and stronger than fashion. It's the technique that turns a mild fish into a global flavor tool. Salt and thyme become umami. Here's the real origin of the anchovy smell. Preservation. Soon after anchovies are caught, they're layered with salt, packed tightly, and pressed under weight. Then they're left to rest for months, sometimes longer. Nothing flashy happens on the outside, but inside, a slow change begins. Enzymes start breaking the fish's proteins into smaller pieces and amino acids. And among those amino acids, one matters for your tongue more than almost any other: glutamate. Glutamate is a key source of umami, the savory depth that makes food feel fuller, rounder, and strangely satisfying. It's why aged cheese tastes richer than fresh milk. It's why soy sauce feels deeper than salt water. It's why mushrooms can make a broth taste meaty without meat. Cured anchovies aren't just salty fish, they're concentrated umami. That's why they don't have to shout to be powerful. Used correctly, they don't make food taste fishy. They make food taste more like itself, just with the lights turned up slightly from the inside. And once you understand that, you stop seeing anchovies as a topping. You start seeing them as a method, which is also why they get confused with another little fish in a can. Same shelf, different jobs. Anchovies and sardines often sit near each other in the store, packed in similar tins, looking like cousins. But in the kitchen, they behave like different characters in the story. Sardines are usually larger and oilier, often eaten whole as the main event, on toast, with lemon, straight from the can. They're a meal. Anchovies are smaller and softer, and they're frequently filleted and cured. They're not trying to be the star. They're trying to be the backstage crew that makes the whole performance work. Their intensity isn't proof that they're more fish. It's proof that they've been aged. So if sardines are a dish, anchovies are a technique, and that technique is ancient, older than pizza, older than menus, older than the idea that fish should taste only like fish. Garum and the habit of just a little more flavor. Long before your pizza debate, the Roman world had its own anchovy-shaped obsession, garum. Garum was a fermented fish sauce, made by layering small fish with salt and letting it break down under heat and time until it became a pungent liquid. People used it the way we use ketchup, soy sauce, or hot sauce today, added to almost everything to make it taste more alive. It traveled through trade routes across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Some versions were common. Some were expensive enough to signal status. The point isn't that your Caesar salad is secretly Roman. The point is that humans have been chasing the same flavor shortcut for thousands of years. Salt plus time equals depth. Modern fish sauces across Southeast Asia follow the same basic logic, even when the ingredients and local traditions differ. A small fish becomes a big foundation. And foundations are most powerful when you don't notice them, which is how anchovies learn to hide in plain sight. The invisible ingredient. Think about a sauce you love but can't fully explain. Caesar dressing is a perfect example. You taste lemon, garlic, cheese, pepper, and then there's something else, an extra layer that makes it feel finished. That something else is often anchovy. Not as chunks, not as a fishy announcement. In many dressings and sauces, anchovies dissolve into oil and emulsions, leaving behind mostly umami and complexity. Worcestershire sauce is another classic hiding place. So are certain steak sauces, broths, and savory spreads. This is why even chefs who claim they dislike anchovies still use them. They aren't meant to stand out. They're meant to support everything else. Anchovies are the difference between good and why is this so good? And they do it quietly. But your friend at the pizza table isn't wrong about one thing. The version they can smell is the version that's exposed. And there's a different version that changes minds fast. The gentle version most people never meet. In coastal places where anchovies are landed and cooked the same day, they're treated like a delicacy. Fresh anchovies can be grilled, fried, marinated in vinegar, or even served simply with olive oil and lemon. In that form, they're soft and mild, with a clean flavor that surprises people who grew up fearing the tin. Many anchovy haters flip in a single bite of fresh fish because the harshness they remember isn't the fish at all, it's the cure. The problem is that fresh anchovies don't travel well. They spoil quickly. So outside fishing regions, preservation becomes the default experience. That's the trade anchovies made to become global. Shelf life in exchange for intensity. Which brings us to the practical question people always ask once they stop arguing about smell. Are anchovies actually good for you? Low mercury, high sodium. Anchovies are small, and that matters in more ways than one. Because they sit low on the food chain and live relatively short lives, they generally accumulate less mercury than larger fish like tuna. Nutritionally, they also bring real value. Omega-3 fats that support heart and brain health, plus vitamin B12 and minerals like calcium, iron, and selenium. So yes, anchovies can be a smart seafood choice, but the catch is obvious the moment you taste one: sodium. Cured anchovies are extremely salty. They're meant to be used like a seasoning, not like a fillet. You don't build a meal around them, you use them to make the meal taste finished. And once you accept that anchovies are a flavor tool, not a fish portion, you can stop guessing how to use them. The 5-second rule: salt, time, melt. If you remember anything, remember 3 words: salt, time, melt. Salt means you respect the sodium. Use less than you think you need, because cured anchovies are already concentrated. Time means the depth was built by aging, so you don't need volume to get the effect. 1 or 2 fillets can change an entire pan. Melt means you let them disappear into oil, butter, or sauce. Don't ask them to taste like fish. Ask them to become the background that makes everything else taste louder. And if you want to lower the salt without losing the point, rinse quickly and pat dry. You'll remove surface salt while keeping the savory core. Not a topping, a foundation. So back at the pizza table, the argument looks different. Your friend isn't reacting to a fish, they're reacting to a method that announces itself loudly when it sits on top. But that same method, salt, thyme, transformation, is the reason they love Worcestershire in a marinade, or why a Caesar dressing tastes complete, or why certain sauces feel like they have a deeper base note underneath everything else. Anchovies are one of those quiet foundations of flavor, easy to mock, easy to misunderstand, and incredibly hard to replace once you notice what they do. They're a reminder that our strongest dislikes are often aimed at the loudest version of a thing, not the thing itself. And maybe that's the real secret hiding in that salty little fish. Some ingredients don't exist to be seen, they exist to make everything around them make sense. And the next time you see anchovies on a menu, you can choose the kind of relationship you want with them. You can keep them visible, daring, and sharp in opinion on top of the slice. Or you can use them the way cooks have used them for centuries. Hidden, melted, almost anonymous, doing their work in the background. That's the strange power of anchovies. They prove that everywhere doesn't always mean obvious. Sometimes it means essential, like a beam holding up the room, even when nobody is looking for it, quietly. If you enjoyed this kind of hidden-in-plain-sight food story, subscribe to Secrets of Simple Things. We're always chasing the small ingredients that secretly run the whole kitchen. And I'm curious, where do you stand on anchovies? Do you actually like them on pizza, or only when they're invisible in sauces like Caesar and Worcestershire? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you have a simple ingredient you want us to investigate next, suggest it below.